Hello to the First Baptist family and to the Friends of First Baptist. This is our midweek update for October 6th, 2021. And this is our 3-2-1. 3 things I want you to know, 2 chapters in the Bible I would invite you to read, and 1 way I would ask you to pray in this coming week. Okay, so here's the 3 things. First of all, you know the Afghan refugees will be arriving in Tulsa soon. 200 families, 800 individuals. Our part in serving this community and serving a new community coming in is through bathroom supplies. So shaving cream, soap, shampoo, razor blades, things like that. Anything you would use in a bathroom on a regular daily basis, we'll be collecting the month of October. Our Tuesday Bible study lunch, Added Dimension, I've invited them to join in with us. This is our way of very practically serving the needs of these refugees who will be coming into our community, and let's serve well. Let's bring lots of stuff. Remember that as you're out shopping. Okay, so that's 1. 2, I want to make you aware again of our Serve Tulsa Tour. There's 4 or 5 different hubs in the Tulsa area through our North American Mission Board. We're one of those hubs, and we have 5 or 6 projects that we're doing as a part of our hub in serving the Tulsa area. So that's October 15th and 16th. You can sign up online. You can sign up for a project. On the night of the 15th at 6 o'clock, we're having a worship rally for our hub. Would invite you to be a part of that. Again, this is an opportunity to make a difference in our city, in our culture in which we live, because we are about developing Jesus followers who become difference makers. Third, just something fun this week, the Singing Churchmen of Oklahoma. 60 years ago, Singing Churchmen of Oklahoma, these are music directors and volunteers from all over the state. 60 years ago, Singing Churchmen of Oklahoma began at First Baptist Tulsa. And so it was very fitting for their 60th anniversary tour that they started here in our church. And so on October 7th, 7 p.m., that's this Thursday, free concert, come enjoy it. I just spent time with these guys at a Singing Churchman retreat. I was their speaker for a couple of days. Listen, good guys, they love the Lord, and man, they'll sing your socks off. So I don't know how one sings their socks off, but they'll do that for you this coming Thursday night. Okay, so those are the 3 things. 2 chapters in the Bible I want to invite you to read. And this time we're going to do it a little bit differently because as we go through Genesis, I've been having you read 2 chapters that are one right after another. But I'm going to invite you this week to read Genesis 15, skip chapter 16. Now you can read it if you want to, but read 17. So the importance of 15 and 17 is this is where God makes his covenant with Abraham. Okay, and that's a very important word. You'll see that word show up. I counted 5 or 6 times just in those 2 chapters. The word covenant is used. And so chapter 15 opens with a blessing from God that Abraham, I will be your shield and your very great reward. As I often say, we do this once or twice a year in worship. I'll stop and I'll say, if Jesus were to say 3 words to you today, he would say the words, I've got you. I've got you. That's exactly what God says to Abraham at the beginning of chapter 15. I've got you. But Abraham shares his disillusionment. God, you've promised to make me a great nation, but I don't yet have an heir. And so there's a covenant agreement made between Abraham and God. And this sounds a little funny to our Western ears, but Abraham was to take several animals. He was to take a heifer, a goat, a ram, a dove, a young pigeon, and cut these animals in half and separate them. So this was an ancient custom of making a covenant, that oftentimes 2 parties entering an agreement would take an animal, cut it in half, separate the parts, and then the 2 parties would walk between the divided halves together. And that was a way of saying, if I break the covenant, may what has happened to this heifer or this goat, may that happen to me. So it was a way of very seriously and solemnly making an agreement. And notice as God makes this covenant with Abraham, it's God who walks through. And here's the thing I want us to understand about a covenant. Covenant's different from a contract. A contract is if one party breaks it, then the deal's off, right? Both parties can walk away. You break your part, I get to break mine. A covenant's different. That no matter how often we break God's law and break his heart, God still sticks to his part of the deal. So God did not make a contract with Abraham or a contract with us we are given the covenant, that God keeps His promises even when we don't keep our part of the deal. And this scene here is a foreshadowing, animals being broken apart. God would seal His covenant of salvation with us in the broken body of His Son. That's how much He means it, that He's willing to be that sacrifice for us. I will point out a very important verse in chapter 15, verse 6, that Abraham believed the Lord and it was counted to him as righteousness. Unrighteousness is a broken relationship. Faith is what restores the relationship. And this would be a verse that Paul would pick up on in the New Testament, that the righteous will live by faith. That's the sign of a restored relationship with God. So then you jump over to chapter 17, and really it's a part 2 of the covenant idea, and this is the covenant of circumcision. And I want to state this, very carefully and very family-friendly, in a very family-friendly way. Abraham's name is changed from Abram, which means father, which is a kind of an ironic name, to Abraham, the father of many, the father of many nations, right? So this covenant would be sealed with the covenant of circumcision. Now, why of all things would circumcision be the way that God would seal the covenant on the man's body? Because it's a symbol of the future. It's a symbol of procreation, So the circumcision was not just God making a promise to me right now, but God making a covenant with me and my heirs and everyone who comes after me. And so this would be a covenant with the Jewish people that ultimately would serve as a blessing for the entire world. Because what did we talk about last week? From this one man, God would create a nation, so that from this nation would come one man, Jesus Christ, and He would be a blessing to the entire world. And then, of course, you get the name Isaac at the end of this chapter, means son of laughter. There's a couple of stories here of why he is named that, because both his mom and his dad, both Abraham and Sarah, just laughed at the idea of having a baby. But when we laugh, God is often doing His best work. So that's 15 and 17. The covenant that God makes with Abraham that is ultimately fulfilled in Jesus, and we are part of that new covenant through the blood of Christ. So may the Lord bless you this week. Listen, here's the one way I want you to pray. I'm going to ask you to pray the same way you did last week. Pray for Bob. Pray for a burden for the lost. Pray for an opportunity to share your faith. And pray for boldness to open your mouth when the opportunity is there to serve somebody by sharing the gospel of Christ with them. May the Lord bless you this week. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.